You guys remember me from last semester. I'm Tim Wanley from English, and today we have a panel of people who are going to talk with you about getting out of your bubble, developing empathy, and understanding and acting upon social justice. We're going to frame some of the semester's issues for you in doing that. And our first speaker, you'll hear from Scott later, and you'll hear from me again later. Our first speaker is Tasha Paddeck. She is a student leader here on campus. Some of you may have had her as an orientation leader in summer. She's also a CSA, and she's going to get us started off today talking about getting in your bubbles, or not in your bubbles. All right. Take it away, Tasha.
So, all y'all's are freshmen, so you weren't able to see Kevin Hines. So, I'll tell you about his story. His dad dropped him off at college during finals week, and he stepped out of the car, and a tear dropped and fell on his shoe. Why is he crying, you ask? Because he had made the decision earlier that week to commit suicide. So he signs out of his classes so his parents don't have to, gets on a bus, and goes to the Golden Gate Bridge. Unfortunately, the Golden Gate Bridge is a place where a lot of people decide to end their life. While on the bus and while pacing the bridge for about 30-40 minutes, he's crying, absolutely bawling his eyes out, not like softly, no, complete mess. He's a hot mess, just crying. And then a couple stops him, and you'll never believe what they ask him. Oh my God, will you take our photo? It's the Golden Gate Bridge. We've never been here before. Photo op. He's crying his eyes out. And the only people who stop to talk to him are the people who want a photo taken of themselves. Similarly, how many of you have seen Bill Nye the Science Guy? Anyone see that show? Oh yeah, we love him, right? Well, about 3 years ago, he was giving a talk very similar to what I'm giving up right now. And in his talk, he collapsed. And this is like an idol to all of us. We're like, you made science fun. And he collapsed at the University of Southern California. No one did a thing. Everyone was sitting there. No one called 911. No one texted. But there were a few tweets sent out. A journalist in response to this said, this is a perfect proof that our young narcissists are trading in their humanity for wallowing in their technology instead. That's our generation. That's what we've been labeled as.
Thank you. All right, so is this a modern problem? Is this a 21st century problem? In watching the TED Talk that you guys were asked to read this week, it made me think about one of my favorite writers, the Romantic poet Percy Shelley. And I'm going to hit you with it's what I do, okay. But I'm going to hit you with a couple of quotes from Shelley today. This one in particular, written in 1821, so sort of not the very beginning of the Industrial Revolution, but pretty close to it. And Shelley writes, the cultivation of those sciences which have enlarged the limits of the empire of man over the external world has, for want of the poetical faculty, proportionally circumscribed those of the internal world. And man having enslaved the elements, remains enslaved himself. I think that Shelley's interested in the same kind of things that our organic farmers that we're going to hear from today are interested in, maybe living a simpler life, that Tasha's talking about in terms of people sort of like focusing on the outside world and having stuff, and getting stuff. But what's going on inside? What are we cultivating inside of ourselves? What do we, the people, demand today? Do we demand to have cultivation of our inner selves? Do we demand the right to education, a universal right mentioned last week? Do we demand social justice? Or faster downloads? You guys have probably all seen this.
The miraculous is everywhere, in our homes, our minds. I need to upload all of me. I have the right to be unlimited.
Okay, you guys all have the right to be unlimited? Is that a human right? You see how that ad is taking on that same issue. And with that, we're going to talk about how you get marketed to a little bit, how that world gets constructed for you, the things that you need, the things that you take for granted and see. And I'm going to hand it over to Scott to talk about a clip from the movie that some of you may have seen.
We're going to watch a clip.
Sorry.
From the Hunger Games. next one. Back. Actually, we skipped a screen. Yeah. There we go. Ah! There we go. There we go. There we go. Mike, please. Thank you.
Over 100,000 people craning to get a glimpse of this year's tributes, and the sponsors get to see the tributes for the first time. The importance of this moment cannot be overstated.
Very nice. First chariot on my calendar, 15, 14, 13.
There they are, this year's tributes. What's exciting part? It just gives you goosebumps. And don't you love how the stylists, they so clearly are able to reflect the character of each district? Right. There's District 4. Yes, the fishing. I get it. I like it. That's very good. And behind them, we have 2 power plant workers. Right? And then, what is that? Background. Saying, I'm proud I come from District 12. We will not be overlooked. I love that. People are sure going to be paying attention to them right now.
And we're ready. President Snow, you're live.
Tributes, we welcome you. We salute courage and your sacrifice. And we wish you happy Hunger Games, and may the odds be ever in your favor.
That was amazing.
Oh, we are all anybody is going to be talking about.
So brave.
Are you sure you should be there enough with a flame?
Fake flame? Are you sure you... Let's go upstairs.
So, each of the districts get their own floor, and because you're from 12, you get the penthouse. Come on. So this is the living room. I know. Now, your rooms are right over here. Why don't you go clean yourselves up a little before dinner?
Lights? Thank you. How many of you have seen the movie Hunger Games? Good. I thought it'd be a lot of you. How many have read the book? Books? Good half. I figured it'd be that much. So let's just do a little bit of quick rehearsal. What is going on in that last scene? Like what? Why is Katniss kind of walking through her bedroom with that awe? Yeah.
Because where she was at, it was like it was really bad, like living conditions, and then like the forest is like her outside of the district.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, I missed the last thing.
She was like reminiscing the forest.
So the forest is like her place, right? That's where she hunts. It's where she lives, where she gets. That's where she feels comfortable. Why? Like, why she like touch the bed and? Yeah. So we're talking about a world in which a lot of people kind of live in squalor, except for this capital district, right? Who said that? But thank you very much. All right, so there's that. All know the story of the Hunger Games. I think the vast majority of you do. It's this futuristic situation where there's this dominant capital that asks for tributes, these young people between the ages of 12 and 17 to come to the capital, and then they fight it to the death in this arena, right? And so what you just saw at the beginning there was the first look, the Capitol's look at the contestants as they come in to the, to the Capitol to meet everybody, and they roll down that main street in these chariots, okay, which deliberately evokes a certain time in our history, right? Anybody want to take a stab? What does that look like? Absolutely. So we're going to talk a little bit about that for a few minutes, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Tim. Is that you next? Tim? Here's my question. And it relates to these questions of how we develop empathy and the state of the world with its systems of justice and injustice. I want to invite you to wonder the extent to which this book, this story, is a parable about the real world in which we live in. Our class, my section, we're reading the Hunger Games and we're asking this question, so I thought that I would take some of that out to the whole group. Let me ask this question. Did you enjoy the book, reading it? How many? Okay. Did you enjoy the movie, watching it? Okay, the vast majority of you. So, thinking of that scene where the chariots are rolling in and the crowds in the stands are going wild, right? And those people, 23 out of 24 of them are going to die in the next 2 weeks for their pleasure. right? That's what's going on. The more I see that, the more I wonder, how am I supposed to enjoy that? Particularly when I look at all those people in the stands and I think, you know, if I'm going to project myself into that story, am I one of those people that's in the chariots or am I one of those people in the stands? And the answer is clearly, for me personally, I'm one of the people that's in the stands, right? Because I am born into a condition of great privilege, born into a part of the world that has a lot of resources and so forth. So I ask you just to think, I'm not going to poll you. Who are you in that scene if you would project yourself in? Do you sometimes feel like you are in that chariot, or do you feel like more often you're one of the people in the stands? And you're sort of cheering on games that don't necessarily always do everybody a lot of good. What forms of entertainment do you watch and why? So this relates to the question that Tim raised, you know, the iPhone and all the things that come into you, and the way that maybe you are sort of in a bubble in that. How does real or pretend violence figure in your entertainment choices? And obviously, we don't live in the real Hunger Games world. You know, tributes don't come. We don't watch them die in gladiatorial combats, right? But we still do live in a world of violence. And how do the various systems that we are all wedded to support or undermine that violence? Finally, that whole question, notice how everybody in the stands, they're all made up, you know, they do body mods, they're total fashionistas, blah. So how do standards of beauty and attention to appearance play with fashion, body mod, etc. figure in your life? And what role do they play? So as we were watching Katniss there in her room, you know, she's got clothes on probably way better than she ever wore in her life. And she's just got, I actually love the movie, by the way. I think it's beautifully done. She's got this look on her face of like mystification. Like, how do these people just live with all this stuff all around themselves? Okay, so I just want to do one last thing, then I'm going to turn it back over. And that is to relate this to history. Somebody mentioned the gladiatorial games, okay? So the chariots are clearly, you know, in that scene are clearly straight out of ancient Rome. Some of the contestants were even wearing Roman kind of gear, you know. The names of the characters who live in the capital are like Caesar, Cato, Cinna. These are all ancient Roman names, okay? So clearly, Suzanne Collins, the author of the book, and the movie makers are asking us to think about ancient Rome. And if it is a parable, then they're asking us to think about in what ways have we sort of reestablished the empire of ancient Rome. Now, one specific historical site, and this is the last thing we'll talk about here, is to mention this quotation from Juvenal, a satirist in Rome, who wrote already long ago, "When we sold our vote to no man, the people have abdicated our duty. For the people who once upon a time handed out military command, high civil office, legions, everything, now restrains itself and anxiously hopes for just two things: bread and circuses. Panem et circenses." So you know, if you know the book well, the name of the land is Panem or Panem, right? So that Collins directly takes that from this Juvenal quote. Bread and circuses. It's like a shorthand term that people use about people who have sold their ability to really act in the world for, you know, spectacle, for being immersed in a bubble and being safe from all the ways that injustice sculpts our lives.
So, how many of you have seen the TED Tube clip by Jan Jamdai, the farmer from Thailand, that we asked that to be sent around? So some of you have looked at that. I'm going to show a clip of it. Some of what he says in there got me thinking about some of the things that I'm saying today. But I just want to echo, before I show the next clip we're going to show you, that I completely agree with Scott that capital in the Hunger Games is an insulated bubble. Like, the people there are not experiencing reality. The people coming there are seeing a new reality. And I got to be thinking about this. So this has become a classic now. You guys know these guys? All right. So it made me think, is a cubicle another kind of bubble, right? Where you have to sort of justify your existence on a daily basis. How many people have seen this movie? I can tell you it got a lot less publicity than the Hunger Games when it came out. Nobody even heard of it. It was only as a video that this one got famous. But look at the windows there. Look at the cubicles. And look at this poor man, who's not a very good worker, I don't think, but look at him trying to defend his livelihood. This is somebody saying, you deserve your job. That's what the Bobs are doing. They're interviewing him. Oh, we went back.
From the customers, and you bring them down to the software engineers. Yes, that's right. Well, then you just have to ask, why couldn't the customers just take them directly to the software people? Well, I'll tell you why. Because engineers are not good at dealing with customers. So you physically take the specs from the customer. Well, no, my secretary does that, or the cracks. So then you must physically bring them to the software people. Well, no. Yeah, I mean, sometimes. What would you say? You do here. Well, look, I already told you. I deal with the goddamn customers so the engineers don't have to. I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand this? What's the problem with you people?
All right. So that clip, you know what? I agree with that guy. The Bobs aren't asking him, hey, what are you doing to cultivate your inner self, are they? They don't seem to be asking that kind of questions. They're saying, what are you doing to justify your existence? And he's like, I'm good with people, but he's not being very good with people right there. All right, so you guys stand up with me for a minute. We're just going to go through, we've slightly introduced these things. We're going to talk about them a little bit more. They're just 5 focal points that we want to say, so we're just going to say them out loud. So,
Indifference.
lack of opportunity for inner cultivation.
Hunger and poverty.
Overconsumption leading to global warming.
Exploitation and trafficking of human beings. These are problems in the world right now. And the second half of our lecture, we're going to start shifting into maybe one of the things that you guys can do right here in the spring semester of your FYE to do something about it. You might recognize this quote. Anybody remember where you've seen this quote before? Please use your liberties to help promote ours. How many people? Somebody tell me where they saw that earlier this year. It says who it's from, but another professor here showed this clip earlier this semester, sitting right over here. Your section should at least know that, right? All right. So Cynthia asked us this question, or she posed us this request from Aung San Suu Kyi, I think the real legitimate leader of Burma, to help us. And the speaker, Kurt Boyd, last week says, hey, do liberties or rights in our lives depend on them being available to everyone? There's kind of a similar claim there, that if a right is a right, it's got to be a right everywhere. You may not agree with that. That's something for you to investigate and discuss, but how do we sort of start to do that? How do we get involved? We had a speaker in the War and Peace lecture series last semester, which Tasha was part of, by the name of Jason Mark. He's a really good speaker. I'm going to show you a little clip from him. It's like this set up here, so he's kind of far away from the camera. But listen to what he says, and I think it relates to some of the issues that we're talking about here today. And we're going to go to him next.
On the trade and what they're calling conflict rare metals. But as we have demands for this, that is going to fuel the conflict that gets us to this. Now, maybe, and you guys have been talking about this all through this course of the semester, maybe conflict is part of the human condition. I don't know, maybe people just want to go bludgeon themselves over gold and silver and tungsten and coltan. That might be the case. I would suggest, though, that there's a way to at least reduce the incentives for war and conflict. That, as I started out saying when I was talking about no justice, no peace, if we can find a way to live more within our means, that we will have less cause to fight and have conflict. It's not that like going green is going to eliminate war, but it does mean that living sustainably is a precondition for peace. That those things are connected. The idea is if we can find a way to, again, live a little bit more gently on this earth so that we're not rapaciously consuming so much stuff, it will reduce the need to have the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain. It will reduce the need to have 10 aircraft carriers while the rest of the world has got 11. It will reduce the need for this guy holding the gun, next to these poor miners who are just trying to dig a little coal can out of the ground for your cell phone. This really gets in. I'm just going to offer I've got nothing more to offer today except for bumper sticker wisdom. And this is the only bit of goodie, live simply so that others may simply live.
Does anyone know who said that quote? Minus Jason. Anyone? Gandhi said it. So I mentioned that Bill 9 collapsed. Anyone know how long he was collapsed for? About 10 seconds. What is 10 seconds? What can we do in 10 seconds? Let's see. Let's count. So that was about 10 seconds. It was enough for a lot of you to check your phones as to what time it is right now. See, because I can see you. And so that means a lot of you can probably send a text, like let's hang out, especially since we don't actually use English in our text. No, we all shorten the words. We don't know how to spell C or R or U. We know the letter though. So in 10 seconds, we can probably do a lot. We can leave a room. We can start dialing 911. Now those people didn't do that, but we can. I mean, it's only 10 seconds, but we underestimate our time. Last semester, you all had finals. How many of you procrastinated until the last minute and kind of almost screwed yourselves over, but did a lot of work in 24 hours? Yeah, let's face it. For those of you who are honest, thank you. For those of you who weren't, you know who I'm talking about. So, but that's what we can do. We can do so much in a little bit of time. We don't realize this, but we can. One author said that our character is defined not by our actions that we do in front of people, but by the actions we do when we think no one else is looking. Like checking your cell phone or texting. Do you know what your neighbor is doing? Heck, do you know who your neighbor is? Maybe in your row because you all have to sit with your classes. But how about the seat in front of you? Seat behind you? You've been in this class for a semester now. Minus the people who are in your immediate class, do you know everybody in this lecture hall? When you go to other classes that aren't for FYE, do you know those people? Are they having a good day? Did you ask them how their weekend is? Simple sentence. Takes 5 seconds. Kevin Hines said that if anyone had stopped him, asked him what was wrong, he wouldn't have jumped. So that's about 5 seconds. In less than 10 seconds, you can ask someone, oh, how's your day? Oh, are you okay? Oh, I see that you're crying your eyes out. Let's talk about this. Like, are you okay? Is there something I can do? That's what you can do in 10 seconds. Theoretically, you can save a life in 10 seconds. Another thing that we keep mentioning is that you're living in a bubble. Why should you care? Why should you care about the person crying? Why should you care about the homeless on the street? Why should you care about the people in other countries who you are never going to meet? Well, Stacey Orico sang a song. The song is called In Step. In those lyrics, she says this: I was about to leave when another thought occurred. She might be really lost, scared, and frustrated. I should try again to see what she's saying. How did you get here? How did you end up on the street? How did you get so far from home? What would I do if I were in your shoes? A new point of view, a walk in your shoes. Wish I could get inside your head to see what you see when you look at me, because I could have lived your life instead. So you hear about all these terrible things and you're like, well, that sucks. But at least I have my new upgrade. Maybe instead you should put down your phone and talk to the person. Actually communicate with the people you know. The people you don't know. Talk to them. Actually see them. Don't just be like, oh yeah, how's your day? Oh yeah, I'm great. Because let's face it, when's the last time someone said, like when you're passing by, oh, how's your day? Oh, good, yeah. Is it really good? Mentally, you're like, well, I'm almost late for class. I have a paper due on Thursday. It's the first week of classes. You have all this stuff running through your mind. But do you actually answer? Do people actually ask to know the answer? Half the time they don't. So how about instead of wallowing in our technology and trading our humanity for our iPhones and for all of our computers, we should change that. Now, I'm not saying you have to throw away your iPhones, but I'm saying to put them down, to talk to people, to look at people, to actually pay attention and see what they're saying. That if someone's crying, you talk to them. Because who knows, you could have been exactly where they are. The fact that you're here right now as a human, if anyone's seen Charlie Bartlett, he goes over the very same exact thing. The statistics that you are you is phenomenal. How many bugs are there? More statistically, you're likely to be a bug. So you're here. You should take your time and every second that you have and actually make it worth it. Don't just be a bystander in your life and in this world. Stand up. Communicate. Live simply so that others may simply live. Thanks. Tim?
Okay, so I loved hearing that. Those of you who are involved with Listening for Change this semester, that's partly what you're doing that for, is learning how to listen to other people. Those of you doing other kinds of research projects, that's part of what research is. It's listening. It's trying to find out what other people have had to say about things and join into that conversation. That image, we're dumping on cell phones big time here today. It's just kind of a theme. But that image that Jason Mark showed of somebody holding a gun over some other people who are being forced to dig a ditch, that's human trafficking. That's labor. That's injustice in the world that has to do with something in our pockets. All right? So but if you're going to try to do a research project about something, how do you get people to care about that thing that you've decided is important that they should care about? Those are the strategies and tools you need to develop over the next few months, if you haven't already. And I'm going to play a little bit from one of the most effective bubble bursters in the history of the United States. Maybe the most effective, I think. Martin Luther King's speech, "We Shall Overcome," is rhetorically brilliant, as is his essay, "Letter from Birmingham Jail," which you read last semester. I'm going to play this speech and talk about some of the things that he's doing to get people out of their bubbles, to get people to care about the concern, to have a concern for the issues that he feels are common to all of us. He uses a lot of rhetoric that says, hey, this is all of our problem. It's not their problem. It's not your problem. It's our problem. How do we do that as writers? King's an expert at doing that. Listen to him speak. He's also brilliant as a speaker.
There's a little song that we sing in our movement down in the South. I don't know if you've heard it, but it has become the theme song. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. Though I join hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing, we shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. No, before this victory's won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us. Before the victory's won, some of us will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before the victory's won, even some will have to face physical death. Physical death is the price that some must pay to free their children from a permanent psychological death. Then nothing shall be more redemptive. We shall overcome. Before the victory's won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names and dismissed as rabble-rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. And I'll tell you why. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. And with this faith, we will go out and adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. And we will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope. And this will be a great America. We will be the participants in making it so. And so as I leave you this evening, I say, walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the
Okay, I'll give that an A. You write that for me, I'll give you an A on that one. All right, he's pretty good. So, but notice that claim. We talk a lot about critical thinking in this class. The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. We can't prove that. All right, what's King saying there? He's stating a value. He's asking his audience to share that value with him. Right? As a premise. Like if you believe this, then you believe that our progress will carry forward and we will achieve and we will overcome. Right? Because this is true. But there's no way to prove that's true. Right? That's an opinion. Maybe a shared value. That's how you get, so you got to find what shared values are with people in order to write to them. I would say that from a writer's perspective, he's using research. Look at all those people he quoted just in that short speech. Thomas Carlyle, William Cullen Bryant, the Bible, James Russell Lowell. These are famous thinkers, writers, and he's saying these people, if you agree with what they're saying, you should agree with what I'm doing today. In Letter from Birmingham Jail, he does the same thing. If you've read that text carefully, he's putting Jesus Christ, Jefferson, Booker, Lincoln, Socrates. He marshals all of these writers into an ethical tradition in which he sees himself marching along with them and bringing that progress forward. Right? There's not a truth claim to all of that. There is a shared value claim to all of that, which is the level of rhetoric that King operates on. It's like, if you believe what I believe, you have to do what I believe must be done today. Right? He's very much arguing that you can't be indifferent. This PowerPoint, I'm going to go through a little bit quickly, but there's some good quotes in here from King and a couple from Shelley that I want you guys to have access to, so I've shared it with your section leaders. But the red letters on each of these slides is what I want you guys to practice doing this semester. Learn how to move people. King's an expert at it, right? You've got to create tension. You've got to make people see that somehow those people digging up something and having a gun to their head in Africa for your cell phone is a problem. It can't be tolerated anymore, if that's your issue. King talks about the birthright of freedom in this passage from Letter from Birmingham Jail. Right? This is something that if you say to people, do you all agree that we have a birthright of freedom? Most people will say yes. Right? We agree that might be, we might argue about what that means, but we could get some ideas. Maybe not 30 universal rights or 22, but we could probably pick some and say, yes, everybody has them. Once you get that basic agreement, hey, everybody has the right to be free, then how can these policies that are carry on in the way that they do? I'll let you look at these ones. You already have this essay, you read it last semester, but you've got to contest this. This is thinking critically. People, like you said, people are going to call you a criminal. People are going to call you names. People are going to say that what you're doing is too soon, too fast. Not, that you don't belong here, an outside agitator. King very carefully and eloquently argues against each of those points. These quotes are from Letter from Birmingham Jail. As a writer, this is what you need to be able to do when you're doing research and taking on people whose ideas disagree with your own. Or people say, well, that's not a reasonable thing to do. That's not a timely thing to do. That's not a practical thing to do. You need to take on those considerations and figure out how to answer them. That last one here, I will read. That we are all usually tied in a single garment of destiny. When King writes like that, he's using poetic language. He's using figurative language. And I'm going to take that back to Shelley, who said that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. Right? Anybody believe that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world? I don't have time to convince you today, but if you take one of my courses on the Romantic poets, I just might. But what Shelley is talking about is that poetry and the kind of thing, when you hear King speak, he's speaking poetically. He's blowing your mind with the eloquence which he uses. And what Shelley says, and a little bit different from King, because King will tell you what you should think and what you should do. Shelley says, no, poets shouldn't do that. Poets don't do well by acting directly and telling you right or wrong. What they do is, he says, it acts in another and diviner matter. It raises the circumference of your brain. Poetry makes you appreciate the beauty. Actually, some of the things Tasha was talking about, being that person in the world, being aware and connected to other human beings, to nature, as we were seeing a sort of a facile representation of that in the Hunger Games thing, because she's looking at the screen trying to remember a connection to nature. The Romantics are big on connecting to nature, right? But just getting your mind in a place where it's expanding. He's making the claim that that's what poetry does. It strengthens the moral faculty of every human being which then makes you able to see connections and develop empathy, and so on and so forth. This is the TED Talk we asked you to do today. Listen to this farmer from John Jada. He's from Thailand. Again, the world is coming to him and saying, hey, speed up, speed up, speed up, speed up. And he's resisting. He said, no, I'm going to be an organic farmer. And this is what life has been like for my people for a long time.
Life is so hard. I feel disappointed. I start to think about why I have to be here in Bangkok. I thought about when I was a kid. Nobody worked 8 hours per day. Everybody worked 2 hours, 2 months a year. Planting rice 1 month and harvest the rice another month. The rest is free time, 10 months of free time. That's why people have so many festivals in Thailand. Every month they have festival. Because they have so much free time. And then in the daytime, everybody can take a nap. Even now in Laos, anybody go to Laos, you can people take a nap after lunch. And after they wake up, they just gossiping, how's your son-in-law, how's your wife, daughter-in-law. That's, people have a lot of time. But at that time, because they have a lot of time, they have time to be with themselves. And when they have time to be with themselves, they have time to understand themselves. When they understand themselves, they can see what they want in their life. So many people see that they want happiness, they want love, they want to enjoy their life. So people see a lot of beauty in their life. So they express their beauty in many ways.
All right, so that's a good answer for the Bobs, right? I can imagine having him and the Bobs having an interesting conversation about productivity, right? What would you say you actually do? Well, I'm thinking about beauty and music and song. All right, taking naps. Today we've outlined some problems that face us in our lives right now. Indifference, lack of opportunity for cultivation, hunger and poverty, overconsumption and exploitation and trafficking of human beings. So we just want to come with a couple of suggestions or summarize some of the things that we've talked about today. And we're just going to each say a couple of them.
Empathy.
Get out of your bubble. All right, Scott. Okay, foster our inner and creative selves. Research to move. Right? I want you guys to learn to be moved and how to research how to get other people to move to action.
Demand freedom from want for all. We're going to be hearing a lecture by one of our colleagues, Sheila Katz, on that question sometime later.
Live simply. You'll have another lecture coming up by Jeff Baldwin, who will also go over something very similar to this.
And never treat humans as a means to an end. I'll finish the quote, but always as an end unto themselves. That's actually Immanuel Kant who wrote that. And we will be hearing from a speaker, her name, on human trafficking later on, Cindy Liu. She's going to be speaking with us about human trafficking. So some of these issues that we've identified today were actually going to be things that you'll get a chance to hear more about and what scholars and experts are thinking about and the world have to say about them. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Scott for the poem.
And we'll end in poetry. As we started out, this is the summer day. Essentially, we last term asked you to wonder who are you and how you came to be the person that you are. This term we're asking you to think outside, to look at the world as you arrive in it. Bring all that you are out as positively as possible into all that it is. So who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. The one who has flung herself out of the grass. The one who is eating sugar out of my hand. Who is moving her jaws back and forth instead of up and down. Who is gazing around with her enormous and complicated eyes. Now she lifts her pale forearms and thoroughly washes her face. Now she snaps her wings open and floats away. I don't know exactly what a prayer is. I do know how to pay attention, how to fall down into the grass, how to kneel down in the grass, how to be idle and blessed, how to stroll through the fields, which is what I have been doing all day. Tell me, what else should I have done? Doesn't everything die at last? And too soon? Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Thank you.